Unit 15, Administrative Structure and Processes. Introduction. We encounter public administration everywhere. It is with us, as has been observed, from cradle to grave. Before we discuss the administrative structure and processes, it is necessary to understand the meaning, nature, and scope of public administration in some detail. Public administration, simply put, is all about knowledge and technique of administering. It is a cooperative human effort to achieve predetermined administrative goals and objectives. Public administration is made up of two words, public and administration. Public includes all the activities carried out directly or indirectly by the administrative apparatus of the government. The word administer is derived from the Latin word ad and minister, meaning to minister, to serve or to manage. Woodrow Wilson spoke of public administration as a detailed and systematic application of law. Every application of law is an act of administration. In the world of L.D. White, the art of administration is the direction, coordination, and control of many persons to achieve some purpose or objective of public administration. It consists of all those operations having for their purpose the fulfillment or enforcement of public policy. Administrative structure is a planned design. It stands for the relatively fixed pattern of relationships among the various parts of the organization. These relationships lead to the formation of the structure that is intricately connected with the systematic decision making process. Here, the structure refers to the established pattern of relationship in an organization, and process refers to the functional aspect of formal arrangement. An organization may be public or private, but it is believed that no organization can match public administration in the range, variety, and scale of functions. Thus, administration is an activity which demands correct analysis and accurate orientation to achieve the objectives of the organization and meet the needs of the people in an efficient manner. The origin of the discipline of public administration can be traced to Williams' essay on dichotomy of politics and administration, but we have come a long way since then. Now there is a lot of stress on public administration economic union and also on closeness of public administration with management principles. The growing emphasis on administration and politics union recasts the relationship of public administration with the state and society. The study of public administration is no longer inward looking. It does not merely include bureaucratic structures and processes. The objective is not to look for the one best way of doing a job. The changing scenario has made public administration more multidisciplinary, with administrative behavior and citizens' participation as its important components. New researches in the area since 1950s have brought public administration face to face with the new challenge of governance and citizens' organizations. The systems approach, behavioral approach, human relations approach, socio-psychological approach have all emphasized the relationship of administration with the environment, besides highlighting the interrelationship of employees within the public organizations. The role of public administration in the era of globalization, privatization, and liberalization also draws the attention on the relationship of the state, public administration, market, and society. The newborn role of public administration in the globalization context has its genesis in the public choice approach and the new right philosophy of market supremacy. In this unit, an attempt will be made to explain the basic administrative structure that rests on the support of the line and staff agencies in India. In addition, the administrative process like planning, decision making, communication, control, and coordination will also be highlighted. The administrative structure. In public administration, the chief executive performs various legislative, executive, and judicial functions in various areas. The chief executive in public organization mobilizes the efforts of the personnel to achieve organizational goals. Among administrative functions, the chief executive is involved in the formulation of administrative policy, deciding on the details of organization, appointment and removal of personnel, issuing directions, proclamations, orders, etc. Management of finance, coordination of various activities, supervision, control, and investigation of the administrative operations, public relations, and maintenance of proper system of communication. Above all, the chief executive provides leadership in all organizations. To perform all these political and administrative functions, the chief executive delegates some of his powers to the line and staff agencies attached to his office. The agencies which directly carry out the functions to achieve the goals of an organization are called line agencies, while the agencies that help advise and assist the line agencies in carrying out their work are called staff agencies. Chief executives. The chief executive is the head of administration at the respective national, state, district, and local levels. The chief executive could be of different types, namely singular, plural, or collegiate. In India, at the union level, President is the constitutional chief executive, while the Prime Minister, as the head of the cabinet, is the real chief executive. The secretaries are in charge of different departments like finance, education, health, etc., and run the administration in the real sense of the term. At the state level, the governor is the constitutional chief executive, and the chief minister is the real chief executive. At the district level, the district collector is the chief executive, who is the most important functionary in the district administration. The union level. The Constitution of India confirms that the executive power of the union shall be vested in the President. Article 53. The executive power has been classified under administrative, legislative, judicial, and military. Despite these powers, the President is only a nominal executive, as he has to exercise function with the aid and advice of Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. Thus, the Prime Minister and his cabinet is the real chief executive. However, the President has discretionary powers such as ordinance making and pardoning powers. In addition, he has special powers relating to union territories. He has the power to give instructions to the state governors and to appoint certain commissions for specific matters. Thus, he is not totally deprived of real powers. Still, it is fact that Prime Minister is the linchpin of the executive wheel. As the chief executive, he presides over the meetings of cabinet, prepares the agenda and guides its deliberations, allocates portfolios among the ministers, and communicates to the President about the happening in and outside the country. The Prime Minister is the chief spokesperson of the cabinet in parliament. He is the chief coordinator of ministries and departments and makes the major appointments in the name of President. He represents the country at international forums. In work, he is assisted by the Council of Ministers. Moreover, the cabinet committees, the cabinet secretariat, and Prime Minister's office provide staff support to the chief executive. The cabinet secretary keeps the chief executive informed about the agenda of cabinet meetings and assists him. The work of administration is run by the secretariat. It helps in policy making, framing rules, exercising financial control, and guiding and directing the executive agencies in their tasks. Thus, both staff and line agencies help the chief executive. We will discuss the functions of the line and staff agencies later in this unit. The state level. The Constitution of India provides for a federal government having separate systems of administration for the union and states. The governor is a constitutional ruler. In practice, he has to act according to the advice of Council of Ministers responsible to the state legislature. He has powers relating to the appointment of judges and members of State Public Service Commission, addressing, summoning, proroguing, dissolving the state legislature, and granting pardons, remissions, etc. He performs with the advice of Council of Ministers headed by the Chief Minister. He also functions under the direction of the President of India. Thus, the Chief Minister with his Council of Ministers is the real Chief Executive, while the Governor is the nominal Chief Executive. The Chief Minister is the political head at the state level, and the Chief Secretary heads the administration. He is the kingpin of the state secretariat and head of the civil services in the state. The Chief Secretary works as the principal advisor to the Chief Minister, prepares the agenda for the cabinet meetings, arranges meetings, maintains records of proceedings, etc., exercises general superintendence and control over the secretariat, and gives orders on postings, transfers, etc. of the government personnel. Thus, he acts as a staff agency to the Chief Minister. District level. The role of Chief Executive is very important at the district level. As a basic unit of administration, district is placed under the charge of District Collector. Thus, District Collector is the Chief Executive. He is the kingpin of administration, and all the administrative powers are vested in him. The major functions of the collector are to maintain law and order, check proper implementation of social welfare and development programs, make necessary arrangements to complete the election process, supervise over the local bodies, assume charge under unforeseen situations and utilize the district machinery to meet the situation, secure coordination at the district level in the working of various state government departments, and exercise control over field offices through inspections and meetings with his subordinates. By this, he monitors different programs and also fixes priorities. Thus, the collector represents the state government in its totality. Other government officers in the district look at him for support and advice. He acts as a buffer between the government and district administration and between administration and citizens. As we have discussed just now, the Chief Executive's office is the end result of a political process. Chief Executive in a parliamentary system is controlled by the legislature and judiciary, and in an organization he is controlled by the board of directors. In his day-to-day functions, he is supported by the line and staff agencies. Let us now discuss the role of these agencies in the following sections. The line agencies, department. The Government of India consists of many ministries and departments. A ministry of the Government of India may consist of one department or two or more departments. A ministry consists of a political head or the minister, a secretariat. Organization is headed by the secretary of a department, and executive organization of the department is under the heads of the departments. The department is the largest and most prevalent form of public administrative organization. It is directly under the chief executive or the secretary and is held in a single chain of command. The departmental system leads to a rational classification of the governmental operations that are multiple, diverse, and complicated in nature. Departments are formed on the basis of process, purpose, persons, or place, famously called the 4 P's in public administration. Departmentalization helps the chief executive in exercising more effective control over administration. This system helps in avoiding conflicts of jurisdiction, overlapping of functions, and duplication of plans. It brings economy and efficiency in the performance of institutional or housekeeping activities. Hence, it promotes standardization and uniformity of administrative process. A department may be divided into branches, divisions, sections, and various other units of an organization. If a single individual is the head of the department, it is known as bureau. And if department is under a number of persons, it is called a board. A minister is a political head of the department and lays down the board policy framework. He is responsible to the parliament for the functions of the department. The minister is supported by the secretary, who is the permanent executive. The secretary is the principal advisor to the minister. The secretary also represents his department before parliamentary committees. The execution of policy is the responsibility of the executive organization of the department. Attached and subordinate offices are different different forms of executive organizations that performs various staff functions, which we will discuss later. Public corporations and public enterprises. In developing countries like India, state intervention in economic and industrial enterprises has become almost compulsory for various reasons. The main reasons for state intervention are two. Number one, build up an industrial infrastructure and raise productivity. Second, increase employment opportunities. Third, upgrade the standard of living by accelerating national growth and development. Fourth, render required services and cater to public utilities like power, transportation, and communication, as they are heavy capital investments. Fifth, provide sources of credit to finance agricultural and industrial production and trade in the country. And sixth, reduce dependency on foreign capital and aid. The state becomes a vital partner in industrial development and promotion of industrial enterprise, both as a matter of national policy and to ensure public control over important sectors of the economy. The government corporation has been described by DMOC as a publicly owned enterprise that has been chartered under federal, state, or local law for a specific business of financial purpose. In private business, there are limited liability companies consisting of a large number of shareholders, a board of directors representing the general body of shareholders, and a general manager looking after routine administration of the company. In the similar way, to carry on the business and industrial activities of the government, a company-like organization has been devised. A board of directors is responsible for laying down the policies for the corporation as well as company. The government appoints the chairman and members of the board. This board is responsible for the day-to-day management of corporation, which enjoys autonomy of management and flexibility of private enterprise coupled with accountability to the government. The joint stock company form of management has been used by most of the governments. This type is also known as mixed ownership company. The government contributes substantially to its capital. The board of directors appointed by the government heads the management. It includes various joint enterprises shared between the state and private interests, which may represent individual private interests or the subscription of the citizens. India has made great use of this company form of organization for the management of its enterprises. For example, Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, Bharat Electronics Limited, and Hindustan Cable Limited now with growing ascent on disinvestment, privatization, and contracting out. The public-private partnership enterprises are on the increase, but the format is very different from the traditional company form. Boards and commission. A board of commission is generally defined as a group of people elected or appointed to discharge public functions collectively. There would be constitutional commissions, statutory commissions, and commissions set up by executive order. The commissions have some features of the departmental form of organization and some of public corporation. But by and large, a board or commission comes into being for the purpose of the services which are of quasi-judicial and quasi-legislative character, like public utility corporations involved in quasi-legislative formulation of rules and regulations for determining the rates and conditions of services, and quasi-judicial decisions of judgments on issues affecting public and private rights arising under such rules and regulations. The services for the exercise of wide discretionary power of general control, such as Public Service Commission, different interests that are represented in an organization, for example, Commodity Promotion Board. There is a slight difference between a board and a commission, though. A board is a body of members who act collectively, while a commission is a body of members who act in two capacities. That is, number one, the members act collectively as members of a board, and second, every member also acts individually as the head of a distinct branch of an organization. For example, a municipal board The term commission is generally used when the body is charged with important regulatory duties relating to public utility enterprises. The commission system provides the best advice and services at a low cost. They are free from political interference and promote active citizens' participation. The staff agencies. Piffner and some other thinkers define staff in such a way as to include auxiliary functions also. They believe that the staff is of three types, that is, general, technical, and auxiliary. Let us discuss their functions in some details. General agencies. The chief executive needs the advice and assistance of the staff. General staff helps the chief executive in his administrative work by advice, collection of information, research and identification of important issues. For this purpose, the staff provides assistance in reading and replying the letters, preparing texts of lectures, etc. Those who do this general type of work are called general staff members. The Prime Minister's Secretariat is an example of general staff. Even the permanent secretary who advises the minister is a generalist and experienced administrator. For the minister, he performs the functions of the general staff. The staff has administrative training and experience and gives general assistance and advice to the chief executive. Technical agencies. The technical staffs include technical officers like engineers, doctors, financial experts, economists, planners, and architects. They provide technical advice to the chief executive in several technical matters. Their advice is necessary in technical matters like establishing an atomic energy plant, making decisions regarding financial and economic policy, and framing foreign and defense policies. Auxiliary agencies. Auxiliary agencies have been called by Willoughby as institutional or housekeeping services. They serve the line department and perform functions common to all departments. To perform the primary duties, and the agency maintain an office, establish and operate a system for the recruitment of its personnel, perform the work entailed in contracting, purchasing, storing, and keeping of accounts. These type of functions have been organized under separate agencies called auxiliary agencies. The Government of India has auxiliary departments like the Law Ministry, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Department of Parliamentary Affairs, and Central Public Works Department. Important administrative processes. The administrative processes refer to situations when the administration is in action. These processes represent the dynamic aspect of administration. At all levels, the central, state, or field administration has to deal with various issues and problems. Within the organization, many kinds of relationships have to be smoothly conducted to coordinate the activities of the organization. In the similar manner, external interactions with other organizations also have to be managed. Internal activities in organization need to be planned and controlled, and flow of information has to be regulated to facilitate relationships and accomplish tasks. Thus, it is evident that an administrative organization in action exhibits a number of salient processes. Luther Gulick has condensed the duties of an administrator in the famous acronym of POST-CORP. Each letter in this acronym stands for a specific activity or an administrative process. Planning, working out the plan and method to accomplish the purpose set for the enterprise. Organizing, establishing the formal structure of authority through which subdivisions are arranged, defined, and coordinated for the objective. Staffing, S. Ensuring the whole personal functions of bringing in and training the staff and maintaining favorable conditions of work in an organization. Directing, D. Making decisions and embodying them in order and instructions and serving as the leader of an enterprise. Coordinating, interrelating the various parts of the work. Reporting, keeping the executive and subordinates informed through records, research and inspection. And budgeting, B. fiscal planning, accounting, and control to prepare a proper budget. All post-corp processes are an integral part of the entire administrative structure. Among these administrative processes, there are certain processes like planning, decision making, communication, control, and coordination, which are very important for any organization. In this unit, we will confine ourselves to these pertinent processes. Planning is the first and foremost activity to achieve desired results in the administrative process. It involves determining goals and committing the resources in advance. Millet defines planning as the process of determining objectives of administrative efforts and of devising the means calculated to achieve the objects. It is a conscious activity of rationalizing the decision making process in an organization. According to Herbert Simon, planning is the activity that concerns itself with proposals for the future, evaluation of alternative proposals, and the methods by which these proposals may be achieved. Demock describes planning as an organized attempt to anticipate and make rational arrangements for dealing with future problems by projecting trends. Thus, planning is indispensable to administrative process as decisions to realize the goals limit the range of choices available to the administration due to limited resources. Despite its importance, administrative planning is rarely discussed and followed entirely in administration. To be more specific, we are more familiar with economic planning or financial planning, but we know very little about the nature and method of administrative planning. Yet, the administrator who has earned some reputation in the profession does follow some sort of planned approach to his job. However, it is understood more as a personal skill than a kind of transferable knowledge. The tradition has been the government departments function with little formal planning. There are various reasons for this. As John Carrot points out, there has been a body of opinion in the higher civil service, though it is now diminishing that systematic research and planning has little relevance to its work. Concentration upon the awareness of ministerial responsibility tends to put a low valuation on systematic research based planning and a high one on rapid reaction to the topic of the day. Predominance of politics, job security, and profit motive are some of the reasons for lack of sustained planning effort in the government. However, nowadays, the need for planning has been widely acknowledged, and various methods and techniques are being proposed to make planning a reality in the government. The socio-economic and political environment of the government is never static, and the governments everywhere are struggling hard to cope with changes. In fact, resources are always scarce and they have to be allocated among competing alternatives to maximize production and achieve socio-economic satisfaction. Planning involves a methodological mental exercise about achievement of results by means of advanced preparation of activity scheduling. Thus, it involves simulation of activity sequences with more and more cost consciousness and increasing result orientation in public administration. Planning has assumed critical importance in the government. In a developing country like India, rapid socio-economic development depends on public programs and projects. In this context, administrative planning has a crucial role to play in a development. It is universally acknowledged that administrative planning is the key to planned socio-economic development and achievement of intended results. Every 5-year plan sets down targets for each sector like agriculture, irrigation, etc. In this condition, administrative planning becomes a pertinent input in target fulfillment and decision making. Decision making is a complex administrative process. It serves the purposes of fulfilling organizational objectives. The decisions affect and are affected by socio-economic, political, and cultural factors prevailing in this environment. Therefore, the organization formally arranges the decisional environment of the individual decision maker. In this context, the rules and procedures are standardized to help in decision making. The process of decision making is set in advance for the guidance of administrators. The decisional scope is sought to be defined by division of labor and limiting the span of control. Work subdivision specifies the tasks at each level. A limited span of control has the effect of delimiting the task space of a supervisor in an organization. The authority system creates a mechanism for structuring the different levels of decision making. The board and important policy decisions are taken at the top of the hierarchy. Then they are transmitted to the lower echelons and become the guiding criteria for the junior decision maker, who will take decisions of a more detailed and procedural character. In this context, the organizations can be viewed as a means and chain, on each level of which the supervisor's decisions constitute the major value premises in the decisional environment. The authority system in an organization also acts as a quality control device. When decisions taken at lower levels are submitted to the higher authorities for their approval, the content is subjected to a process of scrutiny. An organizational communication system provides a formal framework of information flow in aid of decision making. Thus, socio-economic and political data constitute the raw material for a decision, which is provided by the structured communication system. The organizations have methods of socializing the participants in the decision-making process through management techniques. Training and study of officers on probation is quite common in most large-scale organizations. The executive must learn management techniques so that the decisions made by him, her, are sound and effective. Organizational values and formal rules and regulations are sought to be injected into the minds of new entrants. Interpersonal relations have a strong impact on a decision-making process. Conflict situations between individuals in organization are likely to lead to blockage in communication and imperfect flow of data and information. Thus, organizational hierarchy from this point of view may in certain situations be an impediment to rational decision making in an organization. To make a wise decision, an executive must engage in distinct steps as mentioned by Herbert Simon. Identify the problem, analyze the problem, determine possible and available alternatives, evaluate the impact of alternatives, and select the best alternatives. The ultimate purpose of decision making in any organization is to ensure rational, feasible, acceptable, and practical decisions. The next important process of administration is communication, which is an integral part of every function. Let us discuss it now. Communication process occupies a central place in an organization. Herbert Simon explains communication as a process whereby decisional premises are transmitted from one member of an organization to another. Simon believes without communication there can be no organization, for there is no possibility then of the group influencing the behavior of the individual. In the process, the sender of information seeks to establish commonness with the receiver. The decision-making process is helped by the organizational communication system. Data and information are transmitted to the decision maker through the communication channels. The most widely used model about communication has been evolved from the work of Shannon and Weaver. The basic ingredients of the model are a source, an encoder, a message channel, a decoder, a receiver, and feedback. The source is generally a member with ideas, information, and a purpose for communication. The communication process involves something being sent to a receiver. What the receiver does with the communicated message is the vital part of the whole system. The perceptual process becomes a key element in the understanding of organizational communication. Simon opines that even if there is an elaborate system of formal communication, it will always be supplemented by a complementary system of informal communication. In certain situations, information, advice, and even orders flow along with informal channels. This informal network of communication is based on social relations within the organization. In an organization, two persons at different levels may be communicating with each other in a way not formally charted out. An informal condition of communication may be created by the social relations like friendship and competitiveness. The phenomenon of informal communication has been acknowledged as the grapevine that creates a system of relationships in an organization which is different from formal communication. Simon observes the grapevine is valuable as a barometer of public opinion in the organization. If the administrator listens to it, it appraises him of the topics that are subjects of interest to organization members and their attitude towards these topics. Many students, however, reveal that too much reliance on informal channels may lead to the undermining of the system of formal communication in an organization. In an organization, there is a need for reliable data and information for decision making, which is widely acknowledged. For this purpose, organizations are using sophisticated information system in which they make use of information and communication technology such as digital devices, web networks, and upgraded computer systems. In communication system, designing information system has growing into a technical profession. An attempt to develop a systematic data leads to collection and storage of useful data which is relevant to management. The information system in communication is not a mere technique, but it is useful in solving managerial problems. Thus, data and information which are necessary for decision making have to be organized and streamlined in an organization. And for its proper supervision, adequate control processes are necessary. Control. Control. The problem of control is associated with the problem of organizational growth and survival. Formal organizations maintain a position of equilibrium by using control devices properly. The discussion on decision making and communication flows into the larger control in an organization. Generally speaking, control has a negative and restrictive meaning. The organizational control system is a means for checking and verifying organizational goal achievement. Control is a technical problem in achieving the organizational goal, but its exercise evokes various types of responses from the members in an organization. The control is required to watch progress of work and to guard against possibilities of outcome failures. Proper information about administrative systems performance is necessary for timely decisions that emanate as control measures. The main purpose of control is to make sure that actual operation conforms to established standards. In addition, timely information about work performance is essential so that corrective action could be taken in case of any problem reported in course of performance. Effective supervision, monitoring, and evaluation are important constituents of the control process in administration. The method of control stands for mid-course control and is popularly known as monitoring. When an activity has reached the stage of completion, the comparison between the final result achieved and the planned result is known as evaluation. Both monitoring and evaluation involves comparison of actual performance against predetermined goals and are very important in the process of control. The control philosophies of personnel and managers affect the way control is exercised. In case of the subordinates, they react to the control by their verifying involvement postures. The pattern of control which characterizes an organization is called control structure. The control structures in an organization are related to a sense of involvement among the members. In a coercive control structure, the persons being controlled do not feel psychologically involved in organizational affairs. It generates alienative involvement or alienation of personnel. The utilitarian control structure provides collocative involvement. Subordinates work in return for payments being received, and there is no intrinsic involvement of organizational work. The normative control structure speaks of moral involvement. Personal perceive the organizational tasks as intrinsically good and valuable, and they enjoy doing their work for the organization in the spirit of moral duty. For good results, an organization can have a mix of all the control structures, but in practice, most of the organizations have the predominance of one of the three. For example, prisons will fall in the coercive control category. Religious and voluntary organizations will fall in the normative category, and most of the government organizations will fall in the utilitarian category. Mohit Bhattacharya opines that Adzioni's classificatory scheme has implications for top level management in public organizations. In most of the government organizations, motivation to work is generally lacking and the interpersonal relations are also not very good. It largely depends on the nature of leadership to transform the extent of involvement of members through control in achieving the organizational goals, for which proper coordination is imperative. Coordination. In classical administrative thought, coordination has been considered as one of the major functions of management. In certain situations, due to organizational differentiation, different segments tend to work in isolation with one another, and the achievement of overall objectives suffers. Therefore, proper coordination is mandatory to achieve the goals of an organization. According to Herbert Simon, there are two kinds of coordination. One is procedural and other is substantive. Procedural coordination is the design of the organization that establishes the lines of authority, delimits the spheres of activity, and specifies the relationships among its members. Substantive coordination is related to the content of the organization's activities. The Small Framers Development Association is an example of procedural coordination. An animal husbandry project that designs the different activities and the interrelations involved in the project symbolizes substantive coordination. In organization theory, coordination has been described in the context of intra-organizational interdependence. In this context, situations of interdependence have to be identified and appropriate coordinating devices have to be applied in order to meet the requirements. According to James D. Thompson, there are three types of interdependencies in an organization, such as pooled interdependence, sequential interdependence, and reciprocal interdependence. In the context of administration, pooled interdependence exists in an organization having a number of branches departments. Each one of this is fairly autonomous, and yet the total organization depends for its success on the overall performance of the constituent units. The sequential interdependence is a situation where the units are so organized that the output of one unit is the input for the second. Here the second unit cannot function unless the first unit has produced its output and passed it on to the second unit. The reciprocal interdependence exists in a situation where the output of each unit becomes input for the others. Thompson has suggested important coordinating devices to match the situation. The standardization involves framing of explicit rules to properly guide the action of interdependent units. Such type of coordination is suitable for relatively stable and repetitive situations. The coordination by plan involves regulation of interdependence through the establishment of schedules, which are prepared in advance. This type of coordination is appropriate in more dynamic situations where the organizational task is of a changing nature. Coordination by mutual adjustment includes transmission of information and communication in the course of action, which proves useful in more variable and unpredictable situations. In addition, formal leadership committees and staff units are contribute in achieving coordination. In the hierarchical pattern, superior officer at a particular level acts as a coordinator. The use of various committees is a universal organizational feature in the government organizations. There are permanent standing committees, for instance, in the municipal corporation, which enjoy statutory powers to deal with specific functions such as financial administration, public work, and education. Special or ad hoc committees are set up from time to time to cope with specific situations and problems. The committee composition often reflects the need for access to data and information that would be used in decision making, and the members of other departments and organizations are taken, and the representatives of public are co-opted to facilitate the coordination. Last but not the least, specific staff units are created to facilitate coordination. The computer center is also a useful coordinating device in a complex large scale organization. To sum up, organizations in action exhibit a series of important processes such as planning, decision making, communication, control, and coordination. Each of them has its own distinguishing features. There are significant behavioral implications of some of the processes like control and communication, which affect motivation and morale in an organization. Other processes such as organizing, staffing, directing, reporting, and budgeting are also pertinent administrative processes that affect administrative structure and behavior. These will be analyzed in the BDP elective courses in public administration. How these processes are applied in the government departments and enterprises is another detailed area of study, which will also be explained in the elective courses of political science and public administration. Summary. In this unit, we have discussed the administrative structure in India at the central, state, and district level. The role of the chief executive at these levels and the assistance he gets from the line and staff agencies has been explained. These agencies are essential for an effective organization of the government. The line agencies perform managerial activities and are able to accomplish their work more effectively due to the assistance and support of staff agencies. The staff agencies remain involved in planning, research, and advice. The role of auxiliary agencies is also important as they provide common services for all other agencies. In addition, the role and importance of administrative processes, that is, planning, decision making, communication, control, and coordination, have been discussed at length. The next unit we will explain the concept, need, and importance of good governance.